Yee, and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX. I am occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX, but sometimes I'm known as Derek Montilla. This man next to me, he is always known as Jesse Friedman, occasionally known as a Thunderstick, and he is my vice mayor of this ridiculous network that we're on. Diamondbacks win again, and speaking of ridiculous things, they continue to participate in very lopsided games. Luckily, more have gone their way than the other way during this stretch. But Jesse, this has been quite the stretch. 10 games now in a row have been decided by 5 runs or more. The offense is working for one team or another whenever the Diamondbacks are playing baseball lately.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily shed like a positive light on the Diamondbacks necessarily. I mean, just because the margin of victory is large doesn't necessarily. It could be a very bad thing if you're on the losing side. But the Diamondbacks have won, I believe it's 6 out of those 10 games, so they have been on the winning side more often than not. And just an absolute bizarre fact: 10 straight games with a margin of 5 runs or more. That is a modern era record, which goes back to 1900. That has not happened in baseball history as far as we are aware, which is an absolutely wild and lovely baseball fact that comes out of what was really a nice win for the Diamondbacks all the way around.
Diamondbacks win by a score of 5-0. They are now 11-5 in the month of June, so they're playing very good baseball right now. They're actually 10-2 against the Nationals dating back to April 20th of 2022. So they continue to put it to Washington. Yeah. And of course, Washington did come into this game playing some pretty good baseball. They were 8-2 in their last 10 games coming in against the Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks did what they did tonight. Slade Cecconi was exactly what the doctor ordered. And honestly, the Diamondbacks are getting some pretty amazing performances lately from their young pitchers that have actually, like, they needed to step up. They need to compete for, playing time at a major league level, but the Diamondbacks desperately needed them to step up and give them not only some depth from starting pitching, but some better performances. And that is exactly what they got out of Slade tonight.
It's amazing how quickly things can change, right? I mean, we had a couple turns through the rotation where it felt like I think one guy got through 5 innings and that was it. And
like
now
Brandon
suddenly,
Pfaadt, maybe.
Yeah, and now suddenly you're talking about Brandon Pfaadt. He was really good in his last outing. Ryan Nelson was good in his last outing with the career high 8 strikeouts over the weekend. Jordan Montgomery was good in that Sunday game as well. This has been a really nice run for the Diamondbacks rotation. Granted, the level of competition here is not particularly great, coming off series with the Angels and then the White Sox, and this Nationals team has played pretty good baseball lately. We talked about that on the show yesterday, but a lot of that is because of their pitching, less so than the offense. But the Diamondbacks offense was able to get to Jake Irvin today in a pretty impressive way.
Zach Zent in the chat says Jock got 3 singles. I think he was using Perdomo's bat, or maybe he was using Ketel's bat. I don't know. Ketel has gotten a lot of singles, but Ketel not starting things off the right way tonight with a home run. Of course, the Diamondbacks continue to get that offense hot early. We know that they have done it all season long, but Corbin walks to lead off the game today. He's still second, and then Ketel hits a 2-run dinger, which, to be honest, was enough for this team. I mean, Slade went out there and pitched 6 innings scoreless, gave up 3 hits, struck out 6, did not walk any. And, of course, that was a very nice way for the Diamondbacks to give him that run support early on and allow him to work in a really good start, really good outing for him. But Diamondbacks, again, very good early on, Jesse. Coming into this game, the D-backs have slashed 327, 378, 546 with a 924 OPS as a team this season in the first inning of baseball games.
Yeah, I think it's 55 runs that they've scored in first innings this year, which I believe leads
14
all of
homers,
baseball.
15 now with Ketel's.
Yeah, and I mean that's with like it feels like that narrative has kind of settled down a little bit in the last month or so. I mean, the first few weeks of the season, the Diamondbacks were scoring like 3 runs in the first inning. It felt like pretty much every single day, which is a pretty wild thing to see. But yeah, that came back today for sure. Just a few pitches into the game, you've got Corbin Carroll on first via the walk. You've got Ketel continuing to make a pretty valid MVP case for himself, as we discussed yesterday.
The saga continues.
The saga does continue. Ketel on the season, his OPS is now at 863 after a couple of hits in this game, so he continues to roll. And yeah, this was one of those games where the Diamondbacks just controlled throughout, right? There was never a moment in this game where the Nationals really got any kind of momentum. You could honestly argue that the Diamondbacks should have won this game by a lot more than they did. They had 14 hits. They drew 4 walks. That's 18 base runners, and they only managed to score 5 of them.
Look how greedy you're getting. But I think we at times are really downplaying the Diamondbacks taking care of business against these opponents that they need to take care of business against.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've turned things around offensively. We know that, some of those woes that they had, those weird streaks, like the, lack of being able to win in game 1 of series is kind of over, because we've seen them take the game 1 of the last few series.
I think that's 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So that feels like things are trending in a better direction. The Diamondbacks are winning these games in some cases, and obviously over the last 10 games, the decision has been by a lot, whether it was the Diamondbacks losing or winning. But the more important things is that the Diamondbacks are 6-4 in that stretch, and that they are the ones that are putting a lot of offense out there. I mean, we asked for this early on when we saw the Diamondbacks having those rare 15-run or 10-run outputs. Now the Diamondbacks have been able to consistently put up some big runs over this stretch that they've been playing in these games. And yeah, they've also had a couple of stinkers in there, which I think that's probably more, it feels like more of the outlier is the games when they're not able to score rather than the games where they can score a bunch, right? So Corbin Carroll, which obviously we had the big scare with the injury to his side. We know the MRI came back and everything was fine. He started today, and Corbin is in fact fine. He extends his on-base streak to a career high 18 games, which was already at a career high at 17 games. 2 for 3 today, a triple, a single, 2 walks. He did it all. He stole a base, tried to steal another one, got caught stealing. Didn't have a great jump on that one. I guess if you want to nitpick, there could be something there about like how many times he's been caught this season versus last season. Yeah. However, the story is out on Corbin Carroll stealing, so I think that maybe he gets a little bit more attention his way than maybe Jake or some of the other guys having a bit more success at stealing bases.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, last season he was 54 for 59. He stole 54 bases and was caught only 5 times. This year he's at 13 stolen bases and has also been caught 5 times. So, the percentage this season is not particularly
not
good.
As good.
He would have to rattle off 41 consecutive stolen bases without being caught in order to match what he did last season.
That's rough. I mean, come on, right? I mean, there's something to be said about the fact that like you could talk about a young player being, fast all you want. But I mean, this season the blueprint on Corbin Carroll is out there a bit more, and maybe more information on when he is stealing, what he is doing. I mean, again, the jump when he got caught today was not very good. So
no, it was not.
It almost feels like Corbin might be trying too hard to press the action on the base path when he's up there, rather than maybe using a little bit better judgment. But I understand it, and I mean, so far, even when getting caught, he's still, I think, applying that pressure to the defense, and I think that's important. I would rather see Corbin getting caught and at least going out there, getting on the base path and trying, rather than the lack of that chaos that we saw early this season.
Yeah, I mean, in his career, he's still he's at 69 steals and 11 caught stealing for his career. And he hasn't, I think his sprint speed is maybe down slightly from last year, but he's still, certainly among the league leaders in that regard. You still expect him to have a lot of success on the base pass moving forward. His 2023 season from a base running perspective was like one of the best base running seasons we've ever seen by anyone ever. I remember his FanGraphs base running runs metric was like as high as it's ever been recorded or something like that, at least one of the highest ever. So yeah, probably unrealistic that he was going to repeat that. But the big story with Corbin right now is just that he continues to look better offensively, continues to look more like himself. He got to a pitch kind of on the outer half of the plate, drove it into the left center field gap, was off to the races, winds up at third base. Those are the Corbin Carroll things that we're used to seeing, and we've seen a lot of it here in the last couple of weeks.
Are we downplaying the fact that the Diamondbacks are beating these opponents, though, at times? Because, again, when we looked at especially this particular stretch, we kind of penciled this in as, look, they finally have an easy stretch right there. Like, no stretch this season has really felt easy. I will say, like, when they played the Reds, that was a little different because that was a team that we expected to be very competitive this season. And when we played them, they weren't. The team just wasn't playing well at that time. But I don't know if looking at the schedule at any point did we see a stretch of 9-10 games where we were like, hey, there's where, they'll have a chance to pick up a whole lot of wins. Not to mention the fact that they have been kind of playing down to the level of their competition. So it's hard to even, at one point when this team was so erratic on the wins and losses, like foresee them being able to just pencil in wins against any team.
Yeah, and also the Nationals, like I wouldn't put the Nationals in the same category as the Angels and the White Sox,
fair.
Right? Like
yeah,
the Nationals 3 or 4 hours ago had a better record than the Diamondbacks did.
Right. Now we have the third spot in the wild card, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think the Padres, I believe, are still playing. I think they would overtake the Diamondbacks technically if they
let me enjoy this. Stop it. Don't do this.
Their lead,
I just want to enjoy this moment right now.
But yeah, the Nationals were not only came in with a decent record, but were playing really good baseball coming into this series. They just absolutely obliterated the Miami Marlins in a 3-game set. They'd won 8 out of 10 in their last 3 series consecutively. And Jake Irvin has also had a really good season for them. I talked about him with Andrew Golden on the record earlier, previewing this series.
Make sure to check it out.
Yeah, check it out if you haven't already. We talked about Jake Irvin and how he has been a huge part of the Nats' success this season. Came into this game with an ERA of 3 and peripherals that really backed it up pretty well. So yeah, the D-backs got to a pretty darn good starting pitcher today.
I think that another thing that might be downplayed, and not by us on this show, but is the performance of the bullpen lately. This was another night where, the Diamondbacks handed over a large lead to their bullpen, and the bullpen was able to keep the opposition scoreless. We do know that Justin Martinez finally did falter and give up 1 earned run, which made me very sad. But he was very good once again tonight, going 1 inning, giving up 1 hit and striking out 1, getting that double play behind him. And then Bryce Jarvis kind of comes in. I don't want to say during slop time, but once again, they're able to have Bryce Jarvis come in and eat up some innings on a game where they had a pretty substantial, lead, and he did great as well. 2 innings pitched, no hits allowed, and struck out 1. So again, the bullpen, I think, because of obviously the season they've had, the numbers still don't look good. When you look at where they're ranked, like ERA and other numbers, it's not going to be very high. They're going to be in the bottom third of Major League Baseball, but I guarantee you that's not their numbers over the last month, because it has felt like this bullpen is not only an asset once again, not only does it feel like this bullpen is reliable, but like the Diamondbacks are able to hand over a 5-0 lead, and I don't feel a pain in my tummy anymore. I don't have my ulcer flare up. I don't get, like that acid reflux in my esophagus. All of that stuff is what happens inside of me when I would see the bullpen come in. And for good reason, right? The Diamondbacks have lost some pretty huge leads this season due to the bullpen. Yeah. Luckily, that was way early on, and it does feel like this bullpen is really settled in. Torey has the guys that he can rely on, and it's just an asset right now for this club.
It really is. Justin Martinez did the thing again today with I believe he did allow a hit, but he very quickly erased that base runner on a double play. Struck out the final batter of his inning a very nasty splitter, which is something we're very used to seeing from J Mart at this point. And yeah, I mean, you've still got Paul Sewald doing his thing with the sub-1 ERA. You've still got Ryan Thompson. I think he still has a sub-1 ERA. Kevin Ginkel, obviously, we didn't see all those guys in this game. The D-backs had a big enough lead that they didn't need to use them. But yeah, it is true. You make a good point. Their bullpen ERA as a team is still 4.39, which ranks 23rd in baseball. It's not good, but the relievers that they are using to win games have all been excellent. And a lot of that the reason that ERA is so inflated has a lot to do with, guys who have pitched out of the bullpen, who are not necessarily fixtures, who are not the guys, pitching the most important innings. So that group continues to be really good for them.
I want to fight in the chat. Julio Lugo says, I wouldn't call them reliable just yet. How dare you? The Diamondbacks have 3 relievers with sub-1 ERAs. Show me another team that has 3 relievers with sub-1 ERAs. I mean, they probably exist and they're probably out there, but I'm just saying.
I honestly don't think they do exist. I'm pretty sure
Paul Sewald's is a little skewed due to the small sample size,
that's a pretty
right?
Small sample,
but still, I think that they do have some pretty considerable arms that they can rely on. Ryan Thompson, I mean, not only can I rely on him for hot wrestling takes and to give me a hard time about being at the MLB draft combine today, but you can rely on him at any point during a game to come in with runners on and give you a solid outing. I mean, again, the Diamondbacks just have better bullpen arms than as a franchise I think they ever have. And I think that's something that's exciting. And it does feel like, again, this team almost like completely broke and shattered and had to be put back together. But it does feel like it is coming back together. And again, we have like what I talked about early on. We have some little wonderful like pick-me-ups along the way where the Diamondbacks are going to get back starting position players like Alek Thomas here shortly and their starting rotation. And honestly, right now, the young guys are doing the thing, right? I mean, it's not consistent where this is just one outing for Slade, but it was a fabulous outing and he deserves his flowers. That is the reason why tonight Slade Cecconi is our king snake. 6 innings pitched, a career high for scoreless innings pitched for Slade. He gave up 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, struck out 6. He also tied his career high for innings pitched. It's just a wonderful step in the right direction for his development. And again, we know that we've seen Slade be absolutely brilliant at times this year. The big problem is that Slade wasn't able to give them length, and he gave them that today. He was able to be brilliant throughout his entire outing instead of having that third time through the rotation look like a disaster. And I mean, it has to give Torey Lovullo and this organization hope that they can navigate this difficult time right now with their missing starting rotation and get to a point where not only do they get those guys back, but they still have guys like Ryan and Slade that can still be assets for them in other ways, potentially out of the bullpen. Yeah. Or, I mean, again, even staying stretched out in Reno as depth is something nice, considering right now it feels like one more starting pitcher injury will make this entire organization fall apart at this point.
Slade was just pounding the zone today, man. I believe it was 66% of his pitches were in the strike zone. That is an extremely high number. I looked at every Diamondbacks pitcher who has thrown 50 or more pitches in the StatCast era, going back to 2015. Only 3 times has a Diamondbacks pitcher thrown a higher percentage of pitches in the strike zone than what Slade did tonight.
Wow.
And Slade was one of them, actually. Slade did it. He had 67.2% of his pitches in the zone just a couple of months ago. That was April 21st. I think that was against the Giants. But yeah, there was a Taijuan Walker outing in 2017 where he threw 66.7% of his pitches in the zone. And then, of course, Diamondbacks legend Madison Bumgarner in 2021 also had a game where he threw 66.7%.
Some good company.
Some outstanding company there for sure. But yeah, Slade, you could just see how aggressive he was, and that's something the Diamondbacks have really wanted to see from him. They want to see him attack the zone. They want to see him believe in his stuff, and he absolutely did that in this game today.
Well, and I think we all kind of believe in his stuff. It's just a matter of like what happens, and I mean, it's a mystery to most of us, right? They talked on the broadcast tonight about it being his plant foot and how he's landing and things like that, right? So I mean, it's kind of wild when that small of a mechanical change could be the key to you not only being able to go out there and be very good, but to have a longer outing of sustained success. I mean, Slade was at 70 pitches, I believe, when they pulled him out of the game.
Yeah,
he might have been
6 innings and 70 pitches.
You have a little bit more belief in him, or maybe you don't want to ruin a good outing, which is totally understandable. It's a quality start, so at this point, you want to give him some confidence and you want to give him something to believe on. But they might have been able to get 7 innings, maybe even 8 out of Slade with the way he was pitching tonight. He was very efficient. I just don't, obviously.
Why not 9, Derek?
Complete game shutout.
Complete game shutout. Maddox out of him.
Look,
right?
I said he was being selfish, and now look at me also being selfish. But it happens when your team starts winning and doing things like this. So it's a lot of fun to watch. And again, I'm very excited for the Diamondbacks to kind of be underdogs during this time and to see them.
They're not underdogs anymore, Derek. They're in the playoff picture, right? Now they're the hunted again. That's right. That's how this works.
That's right. That's exactly how That's how we like it. We like being the hunted. But of course, we also very, very much like when you guys are here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. I saw someone was on Twitter. Damon, can you scroll back up there? There was a comment from someone right there. Cat, Dalmatian, Spider Pup, Woo Woo Gur. Get over here. Come on over into YouTube. Forget being on Twitter. Come on, join the chat. We love you guys being here. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, make sure to do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our wonderful shows go live. We do breaking shows, breaking news podcasts all the time. Sometimes we just get bored and want to do a podcast. I mean, don't miss out on any of that. Like, we'll schedule stuff, but sometimes we just want to do shows. So leave us a like. Of course, if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcasting app. We appreciate you leaving us a review over there. We love those reviews. They help us out a ton. But for our instant gratification, drop us a like Corbin says right there. Of course, got down on the BetMGM Sportsbook app. I did not bet on this game, but I did bet on another game. I did win myself some money, so that's always exciting. And I'll tell you, if you're a new user, you can kind of do it a little risk-free your first time by using our code of PHNX to sign up. All you got to do is sign up, use that code, and deposit at least $10 into your newly created account. Place your first wager of $10 or more. And if your bet does lose, you will get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Of course, now is a great time to get down on a Grand Slam jackpot promotion that BetMGM has every single weekend. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can place a $10 or more wager on any player to hit a home run. And if they do that, and that home run is a Grand Slam, not only do you win the money for your bet for the home run, you also win your share of up to $50,000, which is a daily prize. You can win that whole prize yourself or your share of that prize with every other winning bettor. So, of course, get down on the fun over at BetMGM. Sign up. Use our bonus code of PHNX. Place your first sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile app for at least $10. You will receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet should lose. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 8778-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Well, of course, great night to celebrate with our friends from Four Peaks. We've tried to tell you about Bad Birdie, Juicy Golden Ale, their collab with our friends at Bad Birdie. Super drinkable, perfect companion, and not just in the refrigerator or in the tea box. It's just a great friend anytime. It's a great companion to have with you at any time. But I will tell you, if you have not tried this Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale, go try it right now. It is available in 15 packs in grocery stores. You can also get it at your favorite bar around the valley. It's in tap lines everywhere. So make sure to get yourself some Four Peaks. They have a wonderful variety of beers. Their chicken tendies are undefeated. Jesse and I were having a conversation in the car that Four Peaks chicken tenders have ruined us. They've just ruined us. All other chicken tenders are unfortunately subpar compared to Four Peaks. So I really don't know what to do anymore besides just make the long trek out to Four Peaks. You probably should too. Visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. I say long trek because I live in South Anthem. These guys are like 5 minutes away from Four Peaks, so I don't even want to hear it from them.
I'm not quite 5 minutes away.
I'm pretty damn close.
I think about it a lot. I really do.
Jesse, boys trip to Four Peaks.
I'm pretty down.
Jesse's always
down.
I
need that. I think I need that in my life.
Big shout out to Minikin268 says, don't forget to vote for Cattell and Walker for the All-Star game. You are absolutely right. Thank you for your super chat. And yeah, go out there and vote right now. I mean, it already feels like a losing battle with Christian Walker, but I think we can get Cattell to the starting to the starting roster, I think, for the All-Star game. So let's do it. Let's do it together as a family. Of course, speaking of things we do together as a family, we work the count together as a family, presented by our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. So let's take a look at the numbers from tonight's big win. Diamondbacks outscore the Nationals 5-0. They out-hit the Nationals 14-4. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Is the math right on that?
14-4. 14-4. The math checks out.
All right. Well, Diamondbacks were 3 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Nationals just had one opportunity.
By the way, can I just say real quick that I don't like you doing that. I don't like you doing, does the math check out as a joke when I do this graphic? Because you know how self-conscious I get about this. So my heart sinks to the floor.
I'm being self-deprecating in this moment because I'm the one that provided you with the numbers. So when I see it back on the screen, I'm like, that doesn't look right. But
if there's a mistake, Damon, it's his problem, not yours.
I don't know. I've made a couple mistakes on this one that weren't Eric's fault.
All right, he is not blamed. He's not blame free.
Damon has made a lot of mistakes. Yeah.
I'm terrible at my job.
I'm glad you pointed that out.
He is really bad at his job. That's true. Extra base hits. Diamondbacks had 3. Nationals had 1. Just I think a double, right? And then
a Jesse Winker double in the bottom of the 4th inning, which would have likely scored a run had Gabriel Moreno not caught.
That's right.
CJ Abrams trying to steal second earlier in that inning. So
that is right.
Gabby saved a run with his arm in that 4th inning, as we have seen many times over the last couple years.
And neither team hit the ball particularly hard.
Yeah, not at least with like any kind of crazy frequency. 34.4% hard hit rate for the D-backs compared to 28.6% for the Nats. But I don't think that's fully representative of like the Diamondbacks made a lot of good contact. There were a lot of line drives. There were some ground balls too. They hit into a few more double plays than you'd probably like to see them hit into. Mm-hmm. But their quality of contact today was definitely better than that of the Nationals. I don't think this was really a fluke at all.
This is one of those games where, I mean, again, this was a great all-around victory, right? The bullpen was very good. Starting pitching was very good. Offense delivered. And, I mean, you can't really ask for more than a game like this. I don't know if we've seen too many of these games this year. We've seen some lopsided victories, right? The opening day and some other games.
Lopsided victories.
Yeah, but I mean,
some lopsided losses too.
That's true too, right? But I mean, I think this is a little different. When you have a game like this, it is still lopsided, right? But you still feel like the Diamondbacks did a good job of keeping this game, a scoreless game on the national side, and they did a good job of going out there and making sure that they tacked onto a lead when they only had 2 runs on the board and put this one away. I mean, this was just a solid victory against an opponent that was playing good baseball when they came into this game. So it's not like you can take too much away from this team and what they did tonight. But Jesse's going to try.
Yeah, I will try. Yeah, is it nitpicking time?
Do you want to get? Should we have let's get a solid 1-cam shot on Jesse nitpicking. Let's get that up there, Damon, shall we? Go ahead, get nitpicky. I want to be involved in this.
I do have a couple of things. If we're nitpicking, this is obviously a very good game for the Arizona Diamondbacks across the board. But we touched on one of the things earlier. We had Jake McCarthy picked off and caught stealing. Corbin was also caught stealing. The Diamondbacks' success rate on stolen bases this year is 76.7%, which is actually down below the league average. The league average is 78.3%. And last season,
are they trying more than the league average? Or
I think they might be trying less. I'd have to look that up. I think they're probably right around average.
It feels like it, right? I mean,
they're not running as much as they did last season. That's for sure.
Do you think that's a strategical change? Is that something that Torrey's doing on purpose because of the fact that last year they had a reputation for that chaos, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is that Josh Rojas is not on this team anymore. He was one of their primary base stealers.
Yeah, good point.
Corbin Carroll has just not been on base all that much this year. That's probably the biggest reason. And Geraldo Perdomo, he steals bases every now and then as well, and he obviously has missed the majority of the season up to this point. So it's probably a mixture of a number of different things. But yeah, last year, for reference, their success rate was 86.5%. So they're about a full 10 percentage points below that so far this season. Of course, with Dave McKay, you expect this team to perform really well in that regard. So no real concerns, I wouldn't say. Just sort of an odd thing that we've seen early in the season. The other thing I'll nitpick real quick, Derek, is the double plays, which I mentioned earlier. The Diamondbacks grounded into 3 of them in this game. They've grounded into 56 double plays this season, which is tied for the 7th most in all of baseball. So nothing crazy alarming, but something you would probably like to see. You like to see that number a little bit lower moving forward.
50 of those double plays have to be Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel, right? I mean,
it does feel like, there's no way that's true, but it does feel like those guys ground into a lot of them. Lourdes, I don't think grounded into one today, but Gabby did, and Christian Walker nearly grounded into 2 of them. He would have had Jock Peterson not gotten a heck of a jump trying to steal second base on one of those ground balls. So
still can't say enough about Jock Peterson's legs lately.
Yeah,
the man's been getting it done. He's been getting it. He's raised his OPS to 919. Jesse, he is 0.001 point away from being at a 300 batting average. He was 3 for 4 tonight, and Jock, I think, just continues to be an incredible surprise for this team. Especially considering, I mean, I know some of his counterparts that were options for the Diamondbacks at DH have gotten some big hits. We know about the JD Martinez one the other day, but I don't know if any other DH option that was picked up or picked up this offseason, besides obviously Shohei Ohtani, was really working out as well as Jock Peterson is working out for this team.
Yeah, he's been really great, and the fact that he's in the 3-hole, I mean. It's hard to imagine the lineup without Jock Peterson, frankly. Like, it wouldn't be nearly as good, right? I mean, against a righty, you'd have Corbin Carroll, who's obviously not been the same guy this season. You'd have Ketel Marte in the 2-hole. And then I guess Christian Walker moves up to hitting 3rd. The D-backs started the year with Lourdes there, and that worked for a while. But then he really started to struggle. The lineup is just so heavily right now kind of dependent on Jock Peterson being a big-time run producer right there in the middle. And he's been exactly that really the entire year. Like, Jock Peterson pretty much from day one has just been knocking the cover off the ball for the Diamondbacks. And as we said on the show yesterday, I mean, this is the best season that he's ever had up to this point in the year. So really, really impressive stuff from him.
If the Diamondbacks were a movie, Jock Peterson would be a hilarious character in that movie. Yeah. Like, not only is he so good, but he's, again, we've documented and discussed how peculiar of a person he is at times. I love this whole bat situation that, like, I swear to God, I felt like just a week or 2 ago, Tori was like, oh, you guys need to ask Jock about his bats. And then, like, we were like, oh my God, what? Like, Tori gives us great story leads, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but Tori's constantly pitching us story ideas where he's telling us of
pretty much,
great things that the writers should write about and stuff like that. It's awesome. But I just think that if you had Jock in a movie, rolling up in spring training on his hoverboard, wearing his pink hoodie, and just being this outrageously unique person that he is. Oh man, he's a great character in a movie. I would 100% probably find him to be my favorite. But
Tim asks a pretty interesting question here, Derek. Do the D-backs win the World Series if they had Jock Peterson last year?
I mean, the offense fell a little flat at times, and I think that the one thing I've been impressed with by Jock is his consistency. I think it's the fact that Jock, again, we knew about Jock's numbers from last year. We know Jock had kind of turned into this power hitter, but I just don't think I was really ready to, like, think of Jock as being such a just well-rounded hitter, knowing the strike zone so well. Working the count so well, just continuing to find ways to get on base, whether it's with a walk, with a big hit. I mean, he's had some very timely, very big home runs for this team, but I almost feel like some of his other contributions have been more important than his power this year. And I mean, I don't want to go down that path.
I feel like Jock gets a ribby in that game where we had like 50 runners in scoring position.
Yes. Yeah.
game 5. Right?
Yeah, so I think we get that win, and then maybe we reel off a couple more.
You get Merrill on the mound in game 6.
That's a dub.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
We're getting
and anything can happen in a game 7.
This is
anything
not good.
Can happen in a game 7, boys.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong, but you're also a liar. You're a liar. I'm a liar. We're all liars. We're all lying about this if we think that we know what would actually happen. But you know who doesn't lie? The goddamn numbers don't lie, and you know that. So, Jesse, what do you have for tonight's number?
Yeah, tonight's number, going back to Slade Cecconi, 30%. 30%, Derek, represents the percentage of Slade Cecconi's pitches tonight that went for called strikes. He threw 70 pitches, 21 of them were called strikes, and that is actually kind of insane. I went back through again throughout the StatCast, all of the StatCast years going back to 2015. No Diamondbacks pitcher has ever thrown 70 plus pitches with 30% or more of them being called strikes until Slade Cecconi did it tonight. I know that's a little, we're getting pretty far down in the weeds there.
I love it.
But yeah, I guess the story there is that called strikes can also be a sign of a pitcher who's really dominating. It's not all about whiffs. Slade Cecconi only had 5 of those in this game. But there were so many pitches where he was just dotting corners and freezing Nationals hitters. And I think a lot of that has to do with his fastball. He got a whole bunch of those on his four-seamer. His fastball has more horizontal movement than any other four-seam fastball in baseball from a right-handed pitcher. I just looked that up a few minutes ago. So yeah, it's a pitch that has a unique movement profile. It doesn't have a lot of ride, but it has so much run. And you saw that, like that last pitch that he threw to Lane Thomas, where it starts way off the outer edge of the plate, and then it just kind of moves right back to the outside corner. He did that quite a bit tonight, and called strikes can be big, and Slade Cecconi did that tonight as well as any Diamondbacks pitcher really that we've seen in the last decade or so.
Speaking of movement, I do want to just talk briefly about the fact that J Mart had an absolutely filthy pitch. That
that's
not called for. It wasn't called for. You're talking
about that.
The one that just had that movement came back into the top corner of the strike zone, and they didn't give it to him. But oh man, I mean, I really like what we're seeing out of all of these pitchers lately. And again, I can't believe that those words are coming out of my mouth. I never thought I would say that I would be satisfied with the bullpen and with the starting pitching if you would have told me that the Diamondbacks would be down 4 out of their 5 starting pitchers. So, I mean, again, you got to give credit where credit's due. I know that these guys, their ERAs still don't look good. I know that there's a lot of things here that could still use some improvement. Obviously, things are going to change when Gallen and the other starting pitchers return to the lineup. I just think that, again, there could be a point where the Diamondbacks do reach the playoffs, and we should probably look back at this time where things could have gotten really bad for them and looked like they might get really bad for them. And instead, they've been able to pull out some big wins. And again, these are opponents that they should be competitive against. They have some much tougher opponents coming up. They have the Phillies coming up. And then after that, the Dodgers, I think shortly after that, I think they have the A's in between. But it's not an easy stretch. I mean, the A's have even been a good baseball team this year, and they're probably the easiest team they still have on their schedule between now and the All-Star break. So they still have a tough road ahead of them, and they're still going to be missing a lot of that starting pitching over that period of time. But, oh, man, I'll tell you, if we can get some more outings out of Slade and Ryan Nelson like we've seen out of these last 2, the Diamondbacks could very well be looking at potentially being, very close to 500 or maybe even above 500 by the time we hit that All-Star break. And then, again, Merrill and Erod are around the corner. So it's like I'm kind of holding my breath a little bit, but man, I'll tell you, these guys have been making it easier to breathe. And since we're talking about getting up to 500, Damon, let's send Little Cattell up Mount 500, shall we? Because we're so close. I love German restaurants now, by the way. I went to one in Las Vegas and got spanked, but that's a whole other thing. Speaking of getting spanked, Diamondbacks win again tonight, 5-0, and they are 1 game away from reaching that top of Mountain 500. Yeah. They have a 36-37 record, so hopefully they can get there in this series. Maybe
Patrick Corbin on the mound tomorrow for the Nats. He is He's struggled a little bit the last few years, so that certainly presents a good opportunity for them. I do want to say real quick about D-backs starting pitchers. I think it is important to recognize, like, Slade, for as good as he was today and as much promise as there legitimately was in an outing like this, he still has an ERA of almost 6, right? He's still, he hasn't been able to do this consistently. We have seen stuff like this in spurts from Slade. I think about, I think it was 6 innings, 1 run against the Seattle Mariners, where he punched out 8 in that game and looked really, really good. And of course, in his first few starts, there was the narrative of him being utterly dominant the first time through a lineup, and then the stuff kind of falling off and him getting knocked around after that. So he still needs to prove a lot more, right? The Diamondbacks, they might get Zach Gallen back fairly soon, but they're not going to get Eduardo Rodriguez or Merrill Kelly back all that soon. And Slade, if he wants to continue to be in this rotation, he's going to have to show that he can rattle off these kind of starts more regularly. And the same story for Ryan Nelson. He looked really good the other day, but we've seen him struggle quite a bit here over the last couple years, and you want to see some consistency there for sure.
There's not going to be a pitching controversy when these guys come back. Don't get it twisted. But
I don't know. You might see Gallen get Wally pipped because all 3 of these guys.
I hate that you learned that terminology so much. I really do. Yes, but I mean, again, the idea here is that if a guy like Slade, especially considering we know what he can do the first and second time through the order, can maybe be added to the bullpen if they decide to make that sacrifice, and do that, then, I mean, again, that's just another weapon once that starting rotation gets solidified and you got him in the bullpen. I mean, again, there's already a lot of good arms in there, but the Diamondbacks still could manipulate things and get to a point where that bullpen is even better, more reliable. And, again, it would be great to have somebody in there besides, I guess, right now, Bryce is the only guy that's really given them like those long, that length, I guess, like going out there. I mean, I'm sure there's other guys capable of it, but I'm saying right now that's the only guy that they're putting into that position. So anyway, great stuff from this team. Big win for tonight. Of course, thank you again to Desert Financial Credit Union, not only for sponsoring the count, but also for getting me into my home. That's a very important part of my life. It's kind of my favorite place to be. And I'm very happy that they got me started on my home ownership journey because I'm not very good with money, and I need people like Desert Financial to keep me straight. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, and they are dedicated to giving exceptional experiences to their customers and to giving back to their community. They are looking to provide you with financial solutions that make your life better. You can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. When you open a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. They're the only people I trust with my numbers more than this guy over here next to me. But
you trust him more than you trust me?
I do. Wow. I've seen your interest rate on your mortgage, so it's like I trust what they have to say for sure. Got him. Zing! That's a mortgage related slam. Bam!
Slammed him for being born 20 years later.
That's really all
Hell
it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing I did wrong.
Yeah. It's about time I got to slam you guys for your age. You guys do it to me all the time.
That's fair.
Yeah, we probably had that.
You're old, Derek.
There it is. All right. Well, you know what, though? I don't care how old I am. I still know how to have a good time. And my good times always start by stopping off at Circle K. Circle K, of course, we love Circle K. We have a little surprise for you in regards to Circle K. And it's not just their amazing offer that you can get any size Froster or Polar Pop right now for 79 cents through September 3rd. It's the fact that we have some fun things coming up here to this, a little addition to the show. There's a little tease for you, but that's only because we love Circle K so much. Circle K has been a part of the Diamondbacks history. They've been a part of PHNX's history. And of course, they're part of the Valley's history because you could stop anywhere here in the Valley and get yourself some cheap gas. Make sure you get yourself an ice cold beverage and some snacks. Of course, right now, if you sign up for the Inner Circle program for free by downloading the Circle K app today, you can save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups and then save 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details, but get down on the Inner Circle, become part of the Inner Circle gang, and then you'll get all sorts of free coupons, discounts, all sorts of stuff in the app. So download that Circle K app today. Also, speaking of joining the family, make sure you join our family over here at PHNX. We are having a ball, and we love having new members join us. That is one of my favorite things is when I go into our Discord, and there's just a new diehard that I don't know yet. And all the other diehards are welcoming them and talking to them about like who they are and where they came from and stuff. You also have people getting slammed for their takes on dogs in the Discord.
Oh, yes.
You got to be careful about your takes on dogs in our Discord. We love dogs, maybe even more than baseball. I don't know. I have to still go back and check the numbers on that. But of course, make sure to join us. You'll get yourself a free t-shirt from the PHNXlocker.com. Get access to all of our premium content, including Jesse's written pieces, all the stuff that we have to offer in the Discord, and so much more. You also get discounts on our events and discounts with our partners. So make sure to join us today. Become part of the PHNX family. Before we get out of here, we did get a little update on an exciting, maybe some exciting updates coming to Major League Baseball soon, coming to a baseball field near you. But we were big fans of the ABS system and the challenge system that they were testing out in, what was it, Arizona Fall League, right? And we saw a little bit of that. But
yeah,
we got some updates.
If you came out to some Fall League games, you might have seen the ABS challenge system in play. And it is delightful. I've heard really nothing but good things about.
We love it. Everybody loves it.
Everyone who has seen it.
I feel like even the umpires love it.
I mean, you think so? Like, I guess they, at the end of the day, they just want the call to be right. But it does. It does require them to swallow their pride a little bit too, right?
You have to check your ego at the door when you're going to have a computer system telling you whether you were right or wrong on your calls, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I would want a computer system just like
Jesse. You don't have a computer system
all the time.
Jesse, you have live people in the chat telling you when you're right or wrong. You know that's how this works, right?
That's fair.
I've tried to tell you guys. There are people that try to keep up, like Yoshi tries to keep up on all of my mistakes. My mistakes? That's a full-time job, pal. That's not even a part-time gig. That is a full-time job documenting all of my mistakes. So again, I'm okay with it at this point, but I'm sure umpires really aren't, especially being like, big time in a baseball game, but you're going to have to deal with it because the challenge system is coming and you can't stop it.
Yeah. And I think if you're an umpire, you probably prefer the challenge system over just the full on robot. Like, I am just here to relay whatever the robot tells me to call, right? Whether it's a ball or a strike.
We already have a challenge system now in baseball where they can challenge calls, right? Can challenge if a guy was safe at first. And I don't really feel like we understand that the human eye is not perfect and that it's difficult sometimes to see on a bang bang play whether a guy was safe or not, right? So,
well, you may understand that, but I think a lot of baseball fans forget that every now and then.
Oh, those umpires are out to get us. We know that, Jesse. That's insane to think anything else. But no, I mean, I'm just saying at times when the call's overturned, maybe about 23% of the time we're like, in your face, you stupid umpire. But the other 75% of the time we're like, yay or boo or whatever. But for the most part, we just want, much like the umpire, like you said, we want the call to be right. And I mean, we want it to go for our team, but we also want, I don't think at times when you're watching any sporting event, you're like really thrilled that even the other team got screwed. You kind of want to watch a game where the calls are right and the game is fair.
Yeah, that's what everyone wants the most, I think. But yeah, the news that we just got from Jesse Rogers over at ESPN today is that down in AAA, where they have been alternating between the challenge system and just the full-on, the robots call every single pitch, they are now just going to be using the challenge system moving forward. And that is a sign that if and when we get some sort of robot ump thing happening in the majors, it is a whole lot more likely to be the challenge system than to be just the
balls and strikes,
just the full-on ABS ball strike thing. Yeah, which in my mind, this is a positive for the sport. As someone who's seen the challenge system in person, as I alluded to earlier, I am a huge fan. I think it's fun. I've talked to players about this as well. They think it's fun. Everyone in the ballpark loves, when someone challenges a call and it shows up on the screen. You've got the nice little animation that shows you exactly where the ball was and whether it caught a piece of the zone or not. It's one of the cooler moments that happens during a baseball game. And theoretically, it could be happening several times and often at the biggest moments of the game where, I think people can live with not getting literally every single call correct throughout the course of a baseball game, but you want to make sure that you get the biggest ones right in the biggest moments of the game, and the challenge system will allow that to happen theoretically. So I think this is a step in the right direction, and we're not going to see it immediately. It's not coming this year. I don't think it's coming next year either. According to this ESPN article, they say that 2026 is the soonest we could possibly see it implemented into the majors. But I'm all for it, and I hope it happens. Hope it happens as soon as possible.
We have opened Pandora's box when it comes to changing baseball, and I am all for it, because the problem is that there was this antiquated way of thinking of this game where you really do feel like nothing can be changed because of the stats and the league leaders and the this and the that and the awards and the everything. And it's just all so silly, because at the end of the day, we all want to enjoy baseball and we want to find ways to make it better. And I think the only way to have a sport, especially a sport that at one time very much felt like its popularity was dying, reverse course and go in the other direction. And Jesse and I were just reading the other day that baseball had one of its biggest weekends since 2000. And
it had, I think this past Friday through Sunday, which of course includes Father's Day, was the most highest attendance around the league over a weekend since 2008.
2008.
So more than 15 years ago.
And I mean, obviously the changes that they've made to the game are a big reason for that. Of course, so is the amazing polo shirt that the Diamondbacks gave away on Father's Day. The giveaway items are not, you can't discard that, right? Like every team in baseball is giving away awesome giveaway items lately. The quality has really stepped up, and people come out for those days, but they also come out to spend a day with their father at the ballpark. And that's not necessarily something that they were all looking forward to doing when games started venturing into the 3.5 to 4 hour range. And that's what people thought baseball was and was becoming, right? So I feel like, again, these changes that they've made, they're a big part of the reason why we see the biggest weekend out there in I mean, that's a long period of time. That's 16 years, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest attendance. Like, I mean, again, it's because the game is changing and people like the changes that are being made. They like going to shorter baseball games. They like there being more action on the base path, more people stealing bases, more stuff like that. But I mean, again, it's just baseball is doing things now to make the game better. And I think, honestly, watching the challenge system is exciting. It's fun.
It's really cool.
I think it is an addition that people will find not to be off-putting in any way, not to be one kind of, making the ump look bad, but just something exciting when you see them make that call and you get to look up at the screen, much like in tennis, when they challenge whether a ball was in or out in tennis, you get to look up there and see if the ball was in the strike zone or not, and if they're going to reverse the call. And I mean, man, there is going to be some electric moments at baseball parks across this country when calls are overturned in favor of the home team, and it's a big moment. So, I mean,
especially like in the playoffs, just imagining a really pivotal, like a walk turns into a strikeout, or a strikeout turns into a walk. Like, it could have a huge impact. And it'll just finally feel like, after years and years and years of watching umpires do, again, what you said earlier, like, this is just part of being a human being. They're not going to be able to get everything right. It's not their fault. But the reality is that they never were able to get everything right. It's just not a job that a human being is capable of doing fully. And the challenge system would just be like, finally, justice is served. Right. Finally, not every single time necessarily, but finally there is a way for these calls to go how they should have gone initially. And I think that will be refreshing for a lot of people around the game.
Well, speaking of the minor league system, some of the numbers from the Diamondbacks down in Reno have been pretty incredible, including Adrian Del Castillo, who we've talked about quite a bit, currently leads the Pacific Coast League in a whole bunch of stats, a whole bunch of categories, including doubles, extra base hits, total bases, OPS, average. He's second for slugging, tied for second in runs scored, tied for sixth in home runs, and tied for ninth in RBI. He's killing it. The man is killing it. He just came here. It's just so great. But again, I mean, there's some big things ahead for, like, we felt like at one point, once we started getting Jordan Lawler up, we got Corbin Carroll up. It felt like there was going to be this gap in exciting young talent. And it doesn't appear to be, because some of these guys are just raking in Reno.
Yeah, and there's still some guys who are hurt. Of course, we got the Jordan Lawler news yesterday that he had a grade 1 hamstring strain.
Jordan.
Something that I picked up on the other day. Big 2-run triple that he hit. I think it was a game-tying 2-run triple in a game for the Reno Aces. And you could very plainly see the Aces third base coach point at Lawler and say, hey, he's hurt. And then he was removed from the game and all that. So really unfortunate. Sounds like he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. You hate to see that. But there are other guys getting healthy at the same time. Yu-Min Lin is finally has overcome that really brutal situation, being hit with a line drive in the dugout, because that's just sort of how the Diamondbacks injury luck has gone in 2024. Tommy Troy also, he's been out with a hamstring injury. He was sent out to the Complex League today to start a rehab assignment there, so it looks like he's getting close. We did have some prospect promotions here in the last 24 hours as well.
Yes.
Andrew Pintar, someone we've talked about, a decent amount going up to Amarillo from high A. He put up really good numbers in high A. He's been playing center field. We talked about him a little on the show. Spencer Geesting, another big name there, put up just outrageously good numbers in the Hillsboro Hops rotation.
The Hops pitchers have been on fire.
Yeah, the Hops pitchers have been insane. I'm sure they're going to be sad to not have Spencer Geesting anymore.
That's got to be.
He had a 1.50 ERA there, Derek, in 10 starts. It was pretty remarkable stuff.
I mean, I know you're part of the system, but that's got to be a frustrating thing at times, especially when people are specifically fans of those teams. Seeing those players come through, light up the league for a couple of months, and then be so good that they kind of move on to that next step in their career.
Yeah.
But it also is a fun part of it. I think when you're a minor league fan,
you get to see them grow up.
You get to see them go, and you're happy for them. Yeah, it's a different feeling, right? And I mean, we've already talked about Gilbert Diaz. He's projected to make his second start of the year for the Reno Aces against the Salt Lake Bees on Wednesday.
He wasn't so good in his first outing.
He was not. He was not.
He's hit a little bit of a snag here. His last couple in Amarillo were poor, and his first start in Reno not so great.
But I think that they really like what they've seen out of him, and I think that's why they're progressing him on to Reno. And we know it's not easy to pitch in the Pacific Coast League, as you can tell, based on the fact that Adrian Del Castillo is hitting 400 against the Salt Lake Bees this season. He is 25 for 55. My God.
25 for 55?
Against the Salt Lake Bees this season.
I think that's higher than 400.
I'm sorry, 22 for 55. What did I say? 25 for 55?
Okay. All right.
22 for 55.
22 for 55.
Yeah, 22 for 55. My bad.
That's still pretty.
It's still insane.
Pretty outrageous.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, this is a fun organization to watch, right? Diamondbacks, Aces, Sod Poodles, Hops, Rawhide, all of them. So again, Diamondbacks we should see Alek Thomas playing in a Reno Aces game here probably soon.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow's the night.
Will be his AAA debut.
How many games do you think he will play for the Aces before maybe being called up?
I think he'll be there through the weekend. That's what Torrey seemed to say the other day when I was out at the ballpark. So yeah, I think you'll see him stay there through the weekend, and then when the Diamondbacks are home next week, if all goes well, you very well could see Alek Thomas back in a D-backs uniform.
Well, that's amazing. Almost as amazing as the Colorado Rockies currently beating the Dodgers by a score of 8-4.
Really?
Yeah, that's something that's happening. Of course,
I think the Padres lost.
They did. So they lost to the Phillies.
I think the Diamondbacks will officially end the day in that third wild card spot.
You know what that means?
There you go.
We're back. We're fucking back. We've never been more back.
That means we need we're gonna need Damon to make our little postseason standings, like the wild card standings.
Can't wait
again.
Yeah.
But Damon, this time I don't know how you're gonna do it, but you're gonna have to fit like 12 teams on it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
See, I hate that we added PHLY because I want to bring back the All-City standings, but I don't want to bring back the All-City standings because of PHLY.
We haven't done that in quite a while.
Yeah, it's because of Phillies. It's because of the Phillies. That's why we haven't
done it. The D-backs would have a pretty sizable lead on some of the other teams. I guess they'd be close with the Cubs, but the White Sox and
the Rockies. Yeah, I mean there's some distance there, but I mean I don't. There's not a lot for me to gloat there yet, so we'll see.
The All-City division isn't very good. It's pretty crappy. It's a pretty crappy division.
Wish we played in that division.
It's great, mediocre, and also terrible. That's what it is. But of course, we thank you guys so much for being here. Tomorrow, Juneteenth, we will be joining you after tomorrow's game remotely. So make sure to join us for that. If you have tomorrow off, we hope you have a wonderful day. get to watch some daytime baseball here. The Diamondbacks game starts at like 1 o'clock tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow's 1 o'clock, a 4:05 start, I think, DC time, which is odd. But yeah, I guess with it being a federal holiday, people will.
A lot of people in DC are going to be off with it being a federal holiday.
Yeah,
that's
people
usually
in DC for
how
sure.
it works in that city. But of course, make sure to stop by tomorrow night so we can recap tomorrow's game. Hopefully we get to Southern Cattell all the way up to that mountain and maybe stay up at the top. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, the people's producer, Damon, is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We are, in fact, Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate you stopping by. We will see you tomorrow night. And until then, have a wonderful evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun. But, man, it's so much more fun when Slade Cecconi goes 6 innings scoreless. Let's go.
We all silly like the mayor.